Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So if you can't tell from the intro footage, we got some exciting stuff to talk about. So hey, it is Saturday, March 4th, right at 12:30 in the afternoon. Temps around 77 degrees and the humidity is right at 34%. And those stats are coming off of our Accurate backyard weather station. So hey, I made some notes because there's quite a few things to talk about, right? So it looks like we caught our first 2 swarms of the season, maybe at the same time. I haven't been checking the traps this past week, so they may have moved in this last week or they may have moved in today. I can't really tell you, but I can tell you this. I baited the traps 1 day shy of 2 weeks ago on February 19th. That was the post that I shared on Instagram and maybe a short on YouTube of just a quick look inside the boxes where it had that pill container with some cotton balls. And I use Walmart's lemongrass oil. I've never bought Swarm Commander. I'm sure it works just fine, but we've had a lot of success with just regular old lemongrass oil, which is the concentrated essential oil. So let's see, that's the deal with the swarm traps. They've been hung for a bit, but I just baited them 2 weeks ago. Hive number 1, I ended up coming out here during the week, actually February 10th, February 28th was pretty warm, and I wanted to see how their division board feeder was looking, and I was surprised that the bees really weren't touching it at all, and you could smell that it had soured or became rancid. So I dumped that out, refreshed them with half a gallon of fresh 1-to-1 sugar water. So that is one of the things I'm going to do today when I check on them. I also had the idea, finally, a little later than some of my fellow beekeepers in the area, to reverse the boxes. So last time I got in to the hive, it's been a few weeks because of the weather, but the bees have stayed up top, which is normal, and they haven't touched any of the drawn comb down in the bottom box. So I thought, you know, why not reverse them? And today's a good time to do so. The other thing, the other issue I'm going to address today, if you can see that or not, because they're pretty small, but it looks like we got a sugar ant problem, which makes sense because right up here, that's the candy board. You have the internal, or the inner cover. Sorry, I had a brain fart. You have the inner cover, and then you got the bee boxes. So the first time ever I've actually done this configuration, and I don't know, coincidentally, this is the first time I've ever had a sugar ant problem. Also, probably the first time I've ever had candy left over in March. The bees in the past have done a pretty good job of consuming the hard candy well before March, so maybe it's just an odd combination of a few things. So yeah, mainly because I came out earlier before starting to shoot this video and noticed that we have some swarms. That's one of the main reasons I'm out here on a Saturday, basically to maximize my time today, because tomorrow I plan on dragging a ladder out here and just popping the top on the 2 swarm traps to see how they're looking, and if it looks like I probably should move them into some 10 frame equipment, or actually 5 frame equipment, because I have some available. I'll do that tomorrow, because later in the week it looks like we do have some cold weather coming our way, and I really don't want to run the risk of losing a swarm due to a few overnight lows in the high 30s. So that's the plan for today. Oh yeah, hey, one last thing. Paul, friend of mine, fellow beekeeper, he let me borrow his Larab Bees oxalic acid vaporizer, so I will be doing that tonight. I'll try to shoot a video first time using it, but yeah, that's the plan, to treat number 1 on a 5-day schedule over the next 3 to 4 iterations. So the next 3 weeks, treat them every 5 days with a few grams of oxalic acid to knock down the mite load, which I have a feeling their mite load is pretty high. because within the last week or so, came out here just to watch the front entrance to see what the bees are kind of up to. And it looks like they have been uncapping some of the brood, so I wouldn't be surprised if I find that today, because there was a few pupa in the later stages of development that the bees were dragging out of the front entrance, which tells me, you know, we have some kind of mite or virus problem. So I'll have to take a look and see how I can diagnose that today. All right, long intro, a lot of things going on. Haven't shot a video in quite a while, so just a few things to talk about, but like usual, enough of me yapping. Let's get into the bees and see how they're looking. And I cannot wait to see this yard fill up this year. So we might have 3 hives before next weekend. All right, let's see how they're looking. All right, smoker's lit. I want to just let the camera roll because I'm really curious to see what this ant situation looks like. And okay, all right, that's not bad. So maybe the ant situation is just on the outside here. And they're still using some of the candy board, but given the weather, I think it's a good time to remove it. This is also the most bees I've seen come up through the center hole and greet me. So, all right, let me get the candy board removed, smoke them a little bit, and then we'll get into the top box and see how they're looking. All right, kind of tradition, I will try to share a first look with y'all. Got to get in the habit of checking the bottom side of the inner cover, considering it's that time of year where you can find the queen anywhere. All right, here we go. So the front entrance activity of this hive hasn't been what I would consider all that great, but they do have a few frames of nice bees. So like usual, I'm just going to start from right, work my way left, and kind of see what we find today. All right, so I'm over here on the 5th frame, and as you can see, some capped brood. We have some pollen right here, some capped honey, and right around the brood, get my trusty flashlight here, looking for eggs. And yeah, sure enough, there are eggs all the way to halfway through this frame. And what I'm doing now is I'm just looking over the bees, specifically at the wings. Wings look healthy. Let's roll the frame over. We got some nectar, some more brood amongst the brood. Larvae in various stages, more eggs down here. So this queen has moved up into the top box quite a while ago, but part of today's inspection, I'll get in the bottom box, of course, to see if she started to work that. And if not, that's what I was talking about earlier in the introduction as far as removing the boxes. So I'm just going to continue moving through the top box, and I'll show you anything that is interesting. And just like that, on the very next frame, the side that faces east, we have our queen with a yellow dot. So she's last season. Let me get her caged just so I don't damage her. I was hoping to find the marked queen in this colony, because that, man, this, let me interrupt myself real quick. This frame is packed with eggs, practically every single cell. So what I was saying, or my thought was, finding the marked queen in this colony means they have not swarmed, obviously, right? And that also means those swarms that I had caught are not from my bee yard, which is pretty cool. All right, now that I know where the queen is, I'm just gonna move through the rest of the boxes rather quickly and reverse them, and that'll be it for today. This is kind of interesting. As I'm finishing up in the top box, I'm on the 8th frame, and it appears the bees really are not using their own food resources. So between this frame and the next frame, that seems very similar over the last month or so. I mean, this one's a little lighter than the previous, but still a lot of food. All right, let me put the top box back together and we'll get into the bottom box. All right, just pulled the top box and set it aside over here. Queen's still caged up. But yeah, this is one of the things I wanted to show y'all. And let me grab my flashlight in case you can't see down in there. But yeah, it looks like the bees are actually using the sugar water finally, which is nice to see. And there's a decent amount of bees in this bottom box. So let's get in there and see what they're up to. All right, for anybody that may not remember, or if you're new to watching the channel, so these are 10 frame boxes, but because of the 1 gallon division board feeder that takes up 2 frames, the bottom box, the deep, is actually being ran as an 8 frame. So I am on the 4th frame, and interesting to me, again, the bees have a lot of resources down here that it seems like they're really not doing a good job using. Now, they'll only use resources if they need it, so maybe that's the case. Maybe with the red maple blooming and a few other things around here, maybe they just don't need it. But there are a decent amount of bees down in this bottom box. Now, here's the plan. No brood, nothing like that to really look at. Queen staying in the top box. And some people, some local beekeepers did this about a month ago, but I'm going to reverse the boxes, and I've never put a medium box on the bottom, so first time for everything. And because I plan on smoking them this afternoon with the Larab Bees vaporizer, as you can see, I don't have a hole in this box. However, I have a hole in this box, and this is one of the boxes I burned recently. This one I didn't, because obviously it's been occupied. So what I'm going to do now is basically place that box on top of the medium, move the deep frames and the feeder over to the red box because it's got the hole I need for this evening, and then just set this equipment aside. So I'll do that off camera. I'll show you the end result here in a few minutes, and that's that. All right, just like I said, I'll show you the end result. Nothing to it. However, if you've never moved equipment around, let's see if I can get this on camera. You'll see there are a decent amount of bees that really hang out in the equipment you're moving them from. So hey, what do you do, right? Well, that's a good question, and I'll show you in a second. So I'm just going to take this bottom box off, stack it on top of the new box for a second, clean off the bottom board because I'm going to reuse the bottom board, and I'll show you what to do with the bees that are still here hanging to the side, the inside of the box we will not be using now. All right, got everything set up, cleaned off the bottom board, whatever bees were on there, dumped them in front of the colony on the ground. They'll find their way back. This looks odd to me because I've never put a medium on the bottom, but bees have a natural tendency to move up. So because this queen has not started using the top box, this is one of a few ways to try and force a colony to expand, right? So hey, back to what I was saying. That's a decent amount of bees just clinging on to the old box. So how do you get them to move into the new box? Well, there ain't much to it. It's just a matter of doing this here. There you go. Sure, there's gonna be a few more hanging out, but I'll just set this box in front of the colony, leave it out there for maybe a day or so, and all the bees will find their way home into this box here. All right, let's get the queen released, get her back in here, and that's pretty much it for today. Simple. Reverse the boxes, a few frames of brood, not really much to talk about, but they're still queen right. So that is a huge win this time of year. All right, there she goes. Nice looking queen too. All right, let me get them boxed up and we'll talk about a few more things, and that'll be it for today. All right, folks, there you have it. That does it for me. Hive number 1, Queen Right. The brood productivity is on the rise, which is what you want to see this time of year. Not a lot of capped brood, however, a ton of eggs. So I imagine next week when I inspect, that capped brood, I'm sorry, those eggs will be large pupa, if not capped brood by then. So a few positive things going on today. One, that they're still queen right and they're ramping up their population. Two, the 2 swarm traps I showed y'all earlier are not hive number 1, haven't swarmed. So I'm gonna check them tomorrow. So be sure to tune back in for the following video, which should be me checking the swarm traps tomorrow. As I say that, I'll try to shoot a video this evening when I treat hive number 1 with the oxalic acid using the vaporizer Paul from Warden's Farm let me borrow. But I plan on doing that at dusk, and given this bee yard location, surrounding trees and whatnot, I don't think the visibility will be all that great. So happy to see number 1 still queen right. Happy to see they're increasing their population, some really nice frames of eggs, and it was a much welcome surprise this afternoon, or midday I guess, to come out here and see some pretty nice activity on the 2 swarm traps I have. I mean, 30 feet from the bee yard, so no kidding. I mean, there's the hives and here's the first trap, and from this trap to the next one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 yards, so less than 20 feet, easily less than 20 feet, and they are settling in. They're gonna be doing some work. Hopefully by tomorrow I'm gonna get a ladder. I think I said it earlier, but I'm just gonna drag a ladder out here, pop the top, and see exactly how they're looking. And at that point, it's a judgment call. I might give them a few days and maybe relocate them Tuesday before the cold weather moves in into some of the nuke boxes I have over here. And then some of y'all might be thinking, okay, so you're gonna move them 10 or 20 feet. It's kind of not what the textbooks say when you relocate a colony of bees. So here's my thoughts, and this is my game plan. It might change, but for now, this is what it is. So move them from here and there, right? Over into the bee yard, which is right here, not far at all. But I think what I'm gonna do in order to get them really hunkered down in their new homes is completely close off the nuke box entrances for about 2 days, and then come out, open up the entrance, hopefully let them, you know, orientate and everything, and that will, hopefully that'll kind of set them into their new home. But you know, TBD, we'll see what happens, right? Man, that's awesome. I love this time of year. I mean, the weather's great. It's like right at 80 degrees, or just shy of. Humidity's actually pretty low right now. It feels awesome out here, and to be able to catch swarms in your backyard on your property is, I think it's pretty cool. So I got some work to do this year. Said that a few times. Trying to keep everybody tuned in over the winter. Show you all a few things out here. Clean up the yard, expanding the yard. That's kind of like my supply area over there, because this has been a long time coming. Had this idea a long time ago to really come out and expand this yard, and as long as everything goes well, it's a lot to do this year. But I could build up to 12 colonies without having to purchase any equipment. But with this setup, these are 8x8, or I'm sorry, these are 4x4x8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, so 40 foot. Comfortably fit about five hives per maybe 6. So 20, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 20 to maybe 25 hives tops, which would be super cool. Anyway, a lot of me yapping. It's been a while, like I said earlier, since I've had a chance to come out and really shoot some footage and share with y'all what I've been up to. But the channel has had some really nice growth in the last month, and I really appreciate it. I truly do. So as usual, feel free to share our channel, any of our videos, with your friends and family. Ask them to subscribe, and hey, if you like the video, just hit that thumbs up. Help us kind of build up the YouTube algorithm, as folks say. I don't think I've ever really said that before, because everybody kind of knows how YouTube works. The more views you get, the more people share your content. You know, it kind of helps get your channel out there. But nonetheless, this is purely a hobby right now, since I'm still active duty, if y'all didn't know that. I am watching bees really check out a lot of our equipment that has drawn comb, so that's also a good thing. But yeah, hey everybody, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Check us out on Instagram. If you hit the little Instagram icon in the top right in the banner, it'll take you over to our page. And in case I haven't said this recently, we are still trying to get our original Facebook page back. For those that don't know, it was hacked in August of 21, and ever since then it's been a losing battle with Facebook. Up until the last 2 months, up until about January, I finally started making some good progress with Facebook, provided proof of who I am and etc, that we, you know, own the channel, or the page once upon a time as our business page. So Facebook, I got faith in you. Like, just make us an admin on the page so we can regain it and start sharing stuff from Instagram, or cross-posting from Instagram and Facebook and vice versa. All right, that was pretty long-winded, but you can't tell, I'm excited to be out here back in the bees, catching swarms, building up the apiary, the bee yard, and I really have high hopes that 2023 will be a good year, and it's nice to be home, of course. All right, everybody, until next time, see you then.